Now I want to talk about why you made that transition, okay? Because you've got the New Market team there. Spending 10 years on exploration, Nicaragua, you suddenly decided let's kind of skip this process and we're going to get into production, right? So that's a seismic shift in mentality. Having spent 10 years at it, was the exploration side too tough? Was it not giving you the results? I mean, obviously share price tells us a bit of a story, but what's the reality behind the decision to change?
So the reality was, and you just hit on this, is the New Market Gold team. So if I take us back to 2015, it was Doug Forrester, Blaine Johnson, Ray Thurelkeld, Doug Hurst, the founders of New Market that saw good geological upside on those assets, and we're very successful. We did the deal. I think New Market was trading around. It was originally a shell, but when we started the deal, it was about 75 cents a share. Ended up selling the company or merging the company for about $5 a share. So we acquired production, but grew the production and grew the resource base through the exploration potential we saw initially, and we're successful at that. Similarly, the way Calibre came about was the identification of these assets. Doug Forrester, Blaine Johnson, always reviewing, looking for opportunities. Because of the success of New Market, they recognize that if we find the right suite of assets with good geological upside and potential, with the combination of the right timing and the right deal, we can make people a lot of money, and ourselves included. And we invest in all of our deals. So really, the shift was the success, because of the success of New Market, right? We had recognized another opportunity. We had looked at hundreds of opportunities for Calibre to buy production, but then have the opportunity to either grow the production or grow the resource base geologically. And we landed on doing a deal with B2 Gold. So that was really the shift, is that the historical success we had with New Market, we were trying to replicate that.
Okay, but you went out to market, raised $100 million, which is not easy, because you did this in the middle of last year. So I get that the New Market team's reputation kind of went before them, but you must have known obviously what you were walking into. And I guess that then begs the question, why would B2 give that up?
Well, I'll tell you, we started discussing this, Blaine and Doug started to discuss this idea with the B2 team, executive senior team, 2 years ago. So, B2 has been working towards a 1 million ounce a year gold producer. It was a suite of Nicaraguan assets that started B2 Gold back in 2009 and 2010. So these were very near and dear to them. They spawned B2 Gold. And, we're a very meaningful part of their production for many years. But 2013, 14, B2 shifted. Instead of doing lots of exploration, which they were still doing, they shifted because they recognized an opportunity to acquire advanced development stage construction-ready projects and other production opportunities when the market was turning down for gold. So they made the right move. And then these suite of assets in Nicaragua became non-core to them. It became, from analyst models, less than 5% of their net asset value, less than 8% of their production. So, their shift and focus went from Nicaragua to West Africa, Fekola, Masbate, some of their bigger operations. And that was the opportunity. I think it was not so much about the divestiture of these assets, but it was a win-win partnership, because we could focus on these assets 120%, like B2 Gold did back in 2009 and 10, which allowed B2 then to have a nice, meaningful equity position, which they have over 30% of Calibre, and recognize the lift, the opportunity that if these guys are successful, okay, we get a bit of cash, but we get a big equity chunk as well. And if they are successful, which we think they will be, that creates the win-win opportunity for both us and B2 Gold.
Okay, so the New Market team and yourself, you're founders in this. Can you tell me a little bit about the structure that you created there to bring these two assets in? So El Limon and Libertad are relatively low grade projects which you're developing into higher grade projects. We'll talk about that in a second. But I'm sure, what structure did you build day one for this project?
Yeah, so as mentioned, Calibre had been an explorer co in Nicaragua for 10 years.
Yeah.
And over 10 years, And over 10 years, your issued and outstanding shares grows quite significantly and quickly, right? We had a few years of success, and then went into the doldrums for a while. Ended up having almost 400 million shares issued and outstanding, right? So it was 2018 where the team said, okay, let's pivot. Let's now look to try and replicate what we did with Newmarket and go out and buy production, but we need to fix the capital structure to do that. We did a 10-for-1 consolidation, right? We did 10-for-1 consolidation. We then advanced in our work to identify an opportunity to acquire production. And so after the 10-for-1 rollback, we did a very small raise. We raised about $5 million at 45 cents. And largely that was the team, the board of directors, the founders, Doug Blaine, Doug Hurst, Ray, Russell Ball, myself, put a lot of our own money into that round. Then we brought in some external investors. Sprott came in, Sprott Capital came in for a bit of that, Rick Rules Group. And so that gave us the small amount of money to go out and start looking, to start identifying and doing due diligence to make this shift, right? And then almost a year later was when we identified the opportunity, or got to the point where we could announce the opportunity to buy the production, and then do a very significant equity raise, as you just mentioned, 100 million at 60 cents. We wanted to price it right. We wanted to price it right because at that time, you may recall, pot was hot, gold was not, right, type of thing. So it was difficult, to say the least, in the middle of summer, to go out and raise $100 million from, and you just mentioned this, from assets that came from B2 Gold, who are known as some of the best operators and some of the best explorers in the business. It came from B2 Gold. So there was a lot of trepidation. There was a lot of uncertainty about, these assets have historically underperformed. Now Calibre, the ex-Newmarket team, is buying them. So there was a lot of questions. So the structure it was all equity. We didn't do any debt other than a little purchase price agreement that we agreed to with B2 Gold. We have about 320 million shares out now after the raise. We raised a total of 105 Canadian. We paid 40 million US in cash to B2 Gold. We paid 40 million US in shares to B2 Gold. We had a convertible debenture with B2, which we actually have now converted to common shares. So it brought them from 30% to 34%. And then we've got one remaining payment to B2 Gold of $15 million, which is due in April of 2021. So that's kind of the structure. Other than that, we have no debt.
Well, sorry, did you mention you owe about another 15 million, but that's been deferred till next year? Okay, you did say that.
April 2021, that's right.
You did say that. Okay, cool. That's fascinating to me that you can segue. You can take a company which has sort of been paddling around the exploration pool for 10 years and then suddenly go, boom, now's the time, guys. And the market's reacted extremely positively to that news. If you look at your shares, again, weren't doing too much in 2019 and towards the latter half when gold started to go. And you were, I guess, getting into nearer term production. So people started paying attention to you. Market dipped this year. Yeah. And you've had a quick recovery back to getting back to sort of where you were. Is that I think that sort of tells a tale that the market is quite interested in your story, and they buy what you're trying to create. Would that be fair to say?
I think for us, it's kind of a prove me story. We bought production from and partnered with B2 Gold. So, these assets historically, La Libertad and El Limon, the two producing assets with mines and mills on them that we bought and acquired and partnered with B2 Gold on, have underperformed. They had underperformed. They had not, there was revisions of guidance down sometimes for production. There were cost guidance up, and so the market was kind of like, yeah, we know these assets, they haven't met our expectations for a couple of years. And so to your point, we did this deal. We acquired the production. There was some history and hair on them. And so it's part of our job as the new team with 120% focus to come in and try and let's say optimize some of the opportunities, maybe find some more ore, but with that 120% focus, we can maybe shift the narrative a little bit from what the external market thinks of these now with, hey, the New Market Gold team that sold their last company for $1 billion.